Oftentimes, process is where the devil hides in the details. We saw an entire election in 2017 overturned, not because there was a contestation about who won the election, but there was a contestation about the channel through which this process then was delivered. And on that basis, an entire election of the president was nullified. And they said, go back, because the process was not clear. It would appear as though across board on Thursday that IEBC had a few questions to answer in terms of processes. Would we, and I want to come back to you, Dr. Mbae, that are we looking at a situation whereby, IEBC is still cutting its teeth and that probably needs a little bit of time, not quite sure about some of these things, how to handle them? Is that an issue, or does it look like something was either ignored or, turned a blind eye towards?
I would say this, and I would say this because I'm a Kenyan and we are building institutions. We had hoped, honestly, with all the noises we made about the composition of IEBC, that they would come out and try to prove us wrong. We had raised issues about the process of getting the IEBC commissioners, clearly. And we had said, this is a dead-arm thing, last-minute thing, and brought in somebody like Noel. We knew a dead-arms come after an afterthought. I mean, we know. But we said, we are not going to go to court. We are going to contest because of timelines. But we just hoped the moment you pick the Bible, Dennis, you shift your allegiance to the person who recommended your name to serve the country and the constitution of Kenya. That was our hope. Like what happened with Akina Chebukati and others. Of course, that is subject to another discussion. We had hoped somehow you not be so obvious that you are moving to this direction. Why am I saying that? Look at what happens. Immediately, my party leader signals off the issue of the vice chair of IEBC. Going to meet the governor of Magarini. The other issue we saw here, we have been trying to tell us who is running. And by the way, we have done our investigations. The person who is in the register is Leonard Minjeru. The person who comes to vote nomination papers is another name. So been asking, please tell us from the word go. Why she's talking about, what you're talking about processes, is that people cannot complain that somebody has run away with ballot, because we did it. Then you continue to count.
You did what? You ran away with ballot?
Yes, no. The people who ran away with it, we complained about it.
Okay.
But they went ahead to announce the winner. We'll be asking, how do you go about this? So personally, I'm very worried. But let me tell you this. Why we want to take Mbae North, for example, as an example, and Marava. We have asked our partners, Eugene Wamarwa and the team that was in Western, to also go to court. Because, you can't come vandalize. Beat up the candidate, said Panyako, literally harass someone. All that violence must be accounted for. So we are saying now, the IEBC must come in. So back to Bere, we are saying, just to answer your question, we want Bere to be an example, to tell IEBC how not to run elections, and to see whether the kind of pronouncements that are going to be done by the High Court, by the courts and all that, whether they are going to help this country to tighten our systems. That's why we said, okay, hold on a minute, no much talk, let's go down now, let's go Rico, because political is not possible, just to go and make sure that IEBC does their work. So yes, there were so many gaps that we saw, enough gaps, by the way. We have like 5 to 10 questions IEBC has to answer in a court of law, slowly, no pressure, no hurry. By the way, the court allows us, the law allows us 28 days to file a petition. So we are doing it silently. We are waiting for the court of law to be gazetted. Then we are going to move there. But I want to say this. You could see also the desperation by which the government wanted those seats. By hook or crook, desperation itself. Like we must win. What for? Let me ask you, if you come and bang and steal parliamentary seats, the sound of the people at the MCA level, that's where you want to test where people are. But look at what happens. Immediately on 28th, a celebration had to happen in this country. Do you know what happened? Do you know who were the victims? Lilodima Summit Road. No contractor yet. Negotiations are still going on. You don't commission a road where the contractor is not yet done, work is not finished, not signed, and not mobilized. Normally you commission something where everything is done, you come and commission, then the next day people are working. But that commissioning course had to happen to come and celebrate. The bravado you're talking about, the lion. You know what? This is what is going to happen. It's a lesson. You know very well you stole elections. But you still want to go and paint it on Kenyans to go celebrate it by all those rallies. So what are we saying here? Let's be sober. I want to say here on record that at least what I know, Marava and Bere, the government stole. Literally, that was, like by force, robbery with violence. Now, we are investigating reports. My brother doesn't know to hear these things. I am very keen on my words. We are investigating reports that at least some hundreds of votes of ID cards were actually bought at 10,000 each. We are investigating. We have told our teams to go look for people who are ready, of course, to file affidavits, right? To sign affidavits, because right now we are not going to talk in barrios or rallies. We are investigating reports, like I told you, that, IDs were picked, they were carried away, and all those kind of things. Voter assisted was rampant. Somebody would come 40 years, 30 years, say, I don't know how to vote. I want to be assisted. Now he'll be assisted by an agent, and then he would go out and be given 5,000. I mean, some things are political, but we are saying, can we just be decent? And listen to me, decent, Dennis. There's something we call political hygiene, political decency. We want to come back and say, where will the president and the system get 400 million to 600 million spent in Mbae in 2027? I mean, where will he get the 400 to 600 million in Mbae? Where will he get all the people he sent to Mbae? Where will have 290 constituencies running? Where will have governors and senators and women reps and himself looking for votes? I can tell you this was what I would call, a very deceptive win, because it's not based on anywhere on the ground.
I want to ask Kennedy the question in terms of the process, yeah? So we look at IEBC and how the elections were handled. So we have the violence that we saw. We know how it reacted in Kasipul, and how the two candidates signed on the dotted paper to maintain law, peace and order, also being fined. But then again, you find that the very same IEBC is quiet when we have cabinet secretaries campaigning against the law, because we know what the law says in terms of state officers and campaigning and being involved in politics. How would you rate IEBC's performance during this time? Because we know election is not an event, it is a process.
Yeah. Thanks, Dennis. Number one, just like I normally say that, Rome was not built in a day. IBC is an electoral body that is important and very fundamental in choosing leaders. And that platform normally has challenges. And historically, the challenges that comes with every electoral body is on record that we've had challenges that nearly every election. That's why the law is very clear that in any election that people who participate feel that it was not done procedurally, they go to court. So the law is clear because the law knows that there could be gaps. However, I want to be very specific with the by-election that we had. Let me touch on number one in Mbae. The Mbae, there was a serious precedence that was set earlier in the day that I watched on TV by Honorable Justin Muturi, who stormed a polling station with goods nearly about 35 against a member of parliament. I can't remember a member of parliament for where. And, he literally threw him out of this station just because he wore a yellow jacket.
Yellow being synonymous with UDA.
Not wearing campaign materials on the very day.
It was, I believe it was not, it didn't have a signature for UD other than the color. Okay. Other than the color, I believe there wasn't any other party signatures. So I think that was a wrong precedence. And I also watched Justin Muturi literally beating up members of the public, some young man, outside the polling station. We cannot claim to want a clean process, yet we are the same people who provoke our opponents. I do not say that two wrongs makes a right, but it is high time as Kenyans we must collectively take responsibility for our
simple
actions.
Question.
Yes
or no, or you can expound on it.
Yes, please.
Would you, where you sit, are you in a position to say that these elections were held in accordance to the law?
These elections were very procedural. They were held according to the law. As much as there were a few isolated incidences like the one in Mbae and the one in Malava
and Homabay.
And Homabay.
Okay, so this is the
and
question.
we have the law.
Right.
We have the law, we have the courts. Everybody who feels like my brother here that their rights were violated, let us listen to how the court will interpret.
Okay, that's great. And they will go to court.
Yes.
But this is the thing,
Yeah.
that the IEBC is the body that presides over the electoral process and the elections, right? That prior to this by-election, we saw the fining of 2 gentlemen to the tune of 1 million shillings each for supposed chaos in Homabay, in Kasipul.
There were deaths, not
Right?
only chaos.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, if the IEBC was so ardent pre-election, I would have to ask that the things that we saw during the election, there should have been immediate censure of them. Because then I have to ask, if there was no censure in one place, but there was censure in another place, we must look at the IEBC in totality as one body. It is not severed off to deal with here. It is the IEBC, right? So would it make sense to have said, okay, JB Muturi allegedly beating up somebody or being seen to beat up somebody, CS Rocco going into a polling station and cutting off, doing whatever, the violence that we saw meted on Peter Kaluma, the other things that we saw collectively, should IEBC not have acted on the spot to say, this is not allowed, this must stop? But they were quiet. Quiet as a church mouse. Till today, we've not heard any condemnation, we've not heard any censure, we've not seen any fining, we've not seen as much as a peep come out of IEBC. Is that okay?
I don't want to judge, but I don't think it is okay. Number one, deaths. 2 deaths were recorded a few days before the 27th in Homabay, in Kasipul. And where human life is involved, I think what IBC did to put a measure of deterrence based on the coming elections of the 27th, that was very welcome. Equally, I want to also call upon the Commission that the isolated incidences like the one we witnessed in Homabay, the one we witnessed in Mbae, and also Malava. In Malava, I saw actually on social media, one Seth Panyako posted on his Facebook page his team stripping naked one allegedly goon, somebody of age who's above 50, a gentleman by the name Nyundo, stripped naked, and him, being a leader and a contestant, posting that celebrating, stripping and beating up of an alleged goon in public. I think that was uncalled for. And I would want an IBC that they could come up with a report, and based on the events that happened on the day of the election, that based on the feedback as a commission that we've had, we hereby, number one, take responsibility that in this area was not properly managed. As a UDA member, that is my prayer, that IBC should be taking responsibility of their actions. But equally, I also know that an election, that we say, it is a process. It is a process that the law also gives that in an event there are gaps, then we have the judicial processes. It doesn't only end with the IBC. So those who are aggrieved, you understand, have the right to go to court and also get their right.
This is interesting. I'm sorry. This is interesting. But for every election where there has been a dispute, one of the groups whereby there has been a finger pointed at has been at the IEBC. Whether you want to look at the days of Sami Kivuitu, whether you want to look at the days of Isaac Hassan, whether you want to look at the days of Wafula Chebukati, that the IEBC has come right in the center of all of this at every time. And there was the hope for Kenyans that this by-election would show that you have an IEBC in place that was not going to take any nonsense.
My sister.
Do we see that happening,
my problem,
Mr. Dr. Mbae?
I hear your question. I want to answer it without losing it.
Okay.
we have a big problem seated here. We had given IBC some kind of benefit of doubt that despite the composition, somehow you'd stand there and say, wait a minute, guys, I come from some village, I come from somewhere, somebody knew me, they commended my name, but as of now, let me serve the country.
Let me work.
That's the hope we had.
Okay.
That's the hope we had. I will go to but let's be very clear. I don't want me to defend JB and all that. He may have been, because somebody comes in here to call us and he was like, guys, please just get off. But let me say this. IBC must stand and seem to be firm. We have reports that some very senior members of IBC were seen somewhere, both in the commission level and executive. But for seated here as a leader, I hate complaining all the time? Because there are millions of people down there looking upon us. So what are we saying? Is that night on Thursday, we made a decision. We want to slowly go, just to give you, just for the benefit of all the millions of Kenyans who are asking the same questions about can we trust IBC. We want to expose. We want to put bare what happened, and we are taking an example of Mbae, and we want to do the same with Marava, to show the extent by which IBC did or did not do what it was supposed to do. So that therefore, we ask our questions. How do we move on to 2027? Because as we speak here, we have so many questions for IBC. The issue of being compromised, the issue of going to bed with the executive, the issue of lack of independence. We saw some people in the past, you IBC, but you can stand your ground. We saw a commissioner literally run away when she was threatened, Roslyn and all that. So it's possible, Dennis, to be a commissioner for the 6 years and say, I'm going to serve my country. We have a problem today of serious interference of IBC by the executive. We want to demonstrate that very soon, going forward, so that we know whether, as a Kenyan people, we can be able to stand. And that's why we see people all over the place. Let me tell you, Dennis, if you believe that you beat Gachagua and United Opposition hands down, if you believe that all those by-elections, especially parliamentary ones, especially Mbae and Marava and Magarini, you beat Gachagua and opposition, United Opposition, why do you go and chase him back at Kariobangi, for him in church, put tear gas, or if you know you are king and you know your opponent is down? Why? It's because you know it is fake. You know these wins are not there. That's why you are running out to say, because the only person, let me tell you something, in all the by-elections we did, when we were in UDA, the new UDA now, against government then Jubilee, we did those by-elections. Luto was a DP, he was a party leader, he never went even to one. It is Rigathi Gachagua and us who did those by-elections. He knows how we did it. So he knows the power of by-elections against the government. So, and he knows when men who has proper grassroots mobilization skills is Rigathi Gachagua. That's why he's still chasing him, even after saying that they have won. Look at the paradox. So we are saying here, let's be balanced here, and let's be fair to each other. And please, we need to condemn that. At any one time, we have seen this trend continue. Dennis and we cannot have political leaders going to fight it out in churches before children and men of God and worshippers. Can we agree? We fight in the fields.
So then it means, I'm sorry, Dennis, because I know he has a question. So then this is not an IEBC issue, but it is a human politician's issue. Because in church, there was no IEBC. In church yesterday, there was no IEBC, and this behavior that we see still carries on beyond the ballot.
Good. We are separated to things, thank you for your question. Can we agree? IBC, the moment we come before you for the purpose of elections, kindly stand firm. Let politicians go and play out there. Don't also bring bad politics into church, because now that's another thing altogether. We are ready to square out with anybody in the open fields, in Lales, all those kind of places. But don't come and for fear of the opposition, for fear of Kasongo and one term, and Ruto must go. You go chasing people inside church. Do you know what happened? In Kariobangi, where elections were free and fair, the real gauge UDA candidate was number 4 in Kariobangi, because they were not able to flex muscles and all that kind of money. But they went out there because they wanted to boast because of parliamentary seats. Kariobangi UDA candidate was number 4. Now that's the reality. But now the fear is this man, if you allow him to go on this way, we know that we stole this thing. But this guy, if he goes and does a rap in Nairobi City, what is going to be the impact? Now we are saying IBC, do your work. let politicians square out where they're supposed to be. That one we can sort any day. But the moment we go to IBC, they have to do it clean and fair square.
Obuya, these by-elections have been seen as a litmus test for 2027. And like you've said, a lot has happened. There have been gaps and all that. But one would look at it and extrapolate it. If this is just a by-election, we've seen people have died. We've seen violence. We've seen the lobbying abrogated. We've seen cabinet secretaries campaigning against the law. One would say come 2027 things will get worse. As a UDA chair in Homabay, are you concerned that 2027, having seen what has happened in 2025, that we are not headed in the right way?
We are very headed to the right direction. Number one, it's important anyone to have what we call self-awareness. The democratic gains we have as a nation, you cannot appreciate it unless you get out of this country. Let's go to our neighbors. Look at the electoral laws of Tanzania. Let us look at the electoral laws of Uganda. Then you'll come back home and say, well, as much as we have a few gaps here and there, we are doing well democratically. Our constitution is a very strong constitution. What we need to do is a culture change, like my sister Ndu was trying to ask Dr. here. A culture change. Our biggest problem as a nation is bad culture. And this is a responsibility not only of politicians, also of citizens. Because there's nobody who will coerce you to vote and force you to vote for a specific person.
But that culture change.
It is a willing buyer, willing seller. So as citizens, what do we need to do as citizens? Every community, every leader, every living person in Kenya who is of adult of sound mind should have a self-awareness, like, what do I need as a citizen?
Do you believe culture change needs to also come from the high-end mighty, one would say, especially from the political class? Because we talk about culture change from a political class that does not respect the law, and it is a culture that has been there over and over again. When we see cabinet secretaries go out there, has been a culture that has continued in this country for a very long time. Again, election is a process, and it's a process that is backed by the rule of law. When we see all this happening in the face and the glare of Kenyans, how then do you speak of a culture that needs to change when people, one would say, cabinet secretaries under UDA, right, government, are breaking the law? Doesn't that culture change need to start from the top?
Like I said, it is a willing buyer, willing seller. It is a responsibility of all stakeholders at the grassroots level, the political elite, the executive, and all arms of government. It is our responsibility as citizens of Kenya that there's something we must do. I just want to inform you, my brother, that I come from Homabay. And we know that the dominant tribe of Homabay is Luo, then Suba. Now, initially, before I joined UDA, I was elected in this city by ODM, and I had witnessed, the way politics changes in this nation is very interesting. People of my background, we had witnessed, regimes then that were widely supported by now majority of members who are in the leadership of the DCP, when children were shot in their houses, when members of my community and members of ODM then were pushing for reviews in the way the electoral bodies were being formed, on reforms also on IEBC. And the same people that were on the opposite side a few years ago are now the same people, speaking like the angels, that they never participated in the malpractices in the Republic. We have not forgotten. But that does not make anything that happened bad right. I think it is important that as a nation, first we must accept that we collectively have a problem. There's nobody who is right here who should claim. The Rigiji is not supposed to, and his team, they're not supposed to come here now and tell us. I want to tell him and my brother here that the elections, the by-elections that happened, to my understanding, they met the constitutional threshold, and it is just important at times that you accept and move on, like Raila used to say, that accept and move on. You've been beaten hands down in your perceived stronghold in Mbae, and the one that you imagined you would take in Malava. Move on and re-strategize for 2027. Do not be a crybaby, DCP.
Mbae, are you worried that 2027, with all that we've seen, that things are not headed in the right direction? Because we started from a point where IEBC and its formation, there was a hue and cry, because one would say IEBC is a negotiated political process for individuals who are there. I know how it stalled Kalonzo Musyoka going to courts because of one Kokimuli and the inclusion in that commission. And with the hope that IEBC would deliver, and you look at what has happened, violence that has happened, it acted fine. You look at cases of what you're saying, ballot stuffing. We have cases of cabinet secretaries campaigning. We have cases of individuals being beaten in Malava, and IEBC is quiet. If 2025, one say, is a litmus test of what is to come in 2027, should Kenyans be worried? And if Kenyans should be worried, then how do we then move to ensure that IEBC works for Kenyans?
One, we should be worried. That's a fact. We saw it. We saw it firsthand. So there's a lot of concern. And we are saying, you could see some places they went and everybody was satisfied. But in some places, there was a lot of pressure from the executive. Or what we are saying, we cannot have an IEBC that listens, picks calls from the executive. That one we could not allow. By the way, what will happen? You're asking a question then. What will happen? We are worried, yes. We are saying, as a united opposition, calm down. Let us bring facts on the table. Let IBC, if they cannot answer us, because they have not, let them answer the court. So finally, the judges, the courts, will lend a verdict of, this is what you did wrong. If it's nullification of some of these things, will be nullified, so that people can learn that tomorrow, if you go the same direction, they'll be nullified. That's number one. Thank God we are not like our neighbors that he likes referring to. Thank God we have a progressive constitution and we know where we can go to. And by the way, this story of our neighbors is not a very good thing to say here, because we seem to be the ones coaching our neighbors how to do things and procedurally. Arrest people, kill people, go and charge them with treason, the way we did here with anti-terrorism, there with treason. That's not a very good example, by the way. There are people who think that they can manipulate and kill everybody else, the opposition, so they can win. That's a very bad example. We don't want to compare ourselves with Tanzania or Uganda or Kagame or something like that, because we seem either we are the one coaching them or we are reading a lot from them. But now, the answer is we want very quickly, in the next few weeks or months, to confirm to the world who is IBC and how they are. And there's one thing we said here. We want to eat up a few of them legally. The few people who will be found to hold the highest responsibility in bungling these elections, I can tell you they are going home. They are going home, clean it up. We will not be so fear that, wait, if you bungle IBC, we will not be ready to prepare. We better deal with IBC now, other than later.
Do you think, and I have to ask this quickly because the time is actually spiraling quickly, but if there had been an inverted result, if the candidates that you backed had won, but we still saw the violence in other places, would you be demanding an audit of IEBC in this manner?
Thank you very much. I would request the other people who felt aggrieved to go to court, because here we are working to strengthen systems, right? We are working to get the best arbiter going to 2027. The way we are, the way what we did, for example, if there's found that there is any voter, for example, out of Mbae, who voted, that alone, if we find, I'm saying if we find they are too big, those are things we are saying, we'll bring them up. So if, for example, we won, like now we won in Kariobangi, we won in Narok, there are people who felt maybe there was some violence that could have resorted to some unfair advantage to us. Let them go to court so that we can check the integrity of the IBC. But as I finish, I want to say this on record. On behalf of our party, we reject in total this late coming, clarification by National Police Service concerning Kariobangi. Late night, you saw it at around 10, saying, this is what happened. We reject that statement. That statement was authored by some senior advisors in the State House. Later, they wrote something. So then they were like, nobody has said anything. National Police Service, please do something of issue. We reject that statement. We know that the intention was to corroborate and make sure the church service does not continue because the Rigathi Gachagua was there. We reject those kind of late coming kind of apologies and all that and clarifications. What we know is that there is a lot of fear. The system is fearing the one-term movement because you cannot fight against a movement. You cannot, remember, the president is a man of narratives. So he likes creating a slogan, like hustler and all that, and then moves him. From 2013, it was, Raila, Muti Aleli, Muti Anini. Now, he is facing up against a movement. He cannot touch one person to fight against. That's the biggest fear we have right now.
Okay.
So all these wins about MP, him, deep inside, the fear is real about one term and Kasongo must go.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have 30 seconds this year.
Thank you. My good brother here, I want you to report back to your party leader, my good friend Rigiji, that the statement that he made yesterday, that Nairobi belongs to the Mount Kenya, in this case Kikuyu community.
No, DCP. He never mentioned Kikuyu. He never mentioned Mount Kenya. Just for clarity.
He said that his members of the community and the taxpayers and the property owners who own Nairobi, they are going to sweep all the seats. That was somebody of his stature. But well, anyway, we don't expect more because that has been his standard of isolating other members of the republic. I just want you to report back to him, if he's listening, that in Nairobi, this is the capital city of Kenya, where the rule of law is going to carry the day. And we are equally stakeholders of this city. We are going to participate and push and make sure that right Kenyans, irrespective of their political affiliation, religious affiliation, and tribal background, they are going to be elected.
Our time.
For clarity. 20 only. Please, for clarity. For clarity, because this is important. Please. The same Rigathi Gachagua yesterday pointed to a Maasai from Narok and said DCP supported another community. We didn't have a Kikuyu vine in Kisa East. It was a Luya, for clarity's sake. So when he never made a Kikuyu with vine, he said DCP.
Okay.
So what is going to happen? We are going to have members who will vie on DCP, just like it happened in Narok and Kisa.
Okay.
So please. Just for record.
This is obviously a conversation that Kenyans listen to, and then Kenyans will then be able to use it and engage at the end of the day. We've looked at ballot 2025. Kennedy Obuya is the chairman. UDA Homabay has joined us this morning with Dr. Peter Mbae, who is Secretary of Planning and Economic Affairs, DCP. Thank you both for being here. It's all a watch and see. Let's watch and see it.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.